Hi, my name is Craig Garassi, and today we're going to talk about how to attract more customers for your business, specifically how to gain visibility for your business through media exposure. So let's dive in. There are just two sections overall. We'll go over some background information and also how to get quoted in the media, and I'll give very specific steps and some very specific examples. So first, the background information. People are always wondering, who are you? Well, I'm a tech career coach. I do focus overall on coaching technical project, program, and product managers, but I also work with other technical disciplines as well. And I help people grow in their careers, bounce back from layoffs, prepare for job interviews, things like that. And this is a talk that I had given to 1 Million Cups Seattle in February of 2025. They provide a supportive space for entrepreneurs to connect and to work through business challenges as well as identify opportunities. So you can check them out at 1millioncups.com. And another question people have is, why are you here? Why are you giving this presentation? Well, it really is just about helping small businesses get quoted in the media. I'll share my real stories about getting quoted and the real results that I achieved. Also, I'm not affiliated with the service that I mentioned today. I'm just a happy customer. So let's go over the media visibility growth cycle because this will be used to organize our presentation today. Overall, it's about identifying the media outlets that align closely with your customers and working with a journalist and sending pitches to different journalists. It's about securing those placements and delivering that high quality content. Sometimes it is a written pitch. Other times journalists want to interview a source or an expert in order to provide input for their article. Afterwards, if your pitch is accepted and published, it's essentially free advertising for your business. That some publications will provide a link to your business website. The more external websites that link to your business website improves the search engine ranking of your business website. Therefore, when people search for topics related to your business, you should be ranked a little bit higher. Also, some publications will provide a link to your LinkedIn profile, so you should see a few more visits to your LinkedIn profile. Other publications will list your name and company name along with your quote in their publication. So either way, it really is just free advertising for your business, and it does build your authority and the authority of your business. And that afterwards, after your quote has been published, it's about measuring the impact of that media exposure. So for example, if your quote was included in a publication on a Monday, well, by Friday or even the following week, how many additional visits did you have to your website? How many additional profile views did you have on LinkedIn? So there is measuring the impact of that media coverage and also refining your pitching strategy. Overall, I suggest keeping a pitch journal, and this is exactly what it sounds like. It's where you list the original journalist request, your pitch, and whether or not it was accepted or not. You'll actually reflect in your pitch journal before pitching again for another journalist in another publication. I'll give some examples later on of some additional things that could go into your pitch journal. So now these are some specific steps about how to get quoted in the media. So identifying opportunities. Overall, journalists are looking for insightful, experienced sources to quote in their publications so that they draw readers to their publications. And I've worked with two types of journalists. There may be more, but hey, these are the two that I've worked with. One is for corporate blogs. So for example, I worked with a journalist who worked for a company. Her company produced project management software, and their software was available on the web. So all people had to do was sign up on the web and start using their software. In order to draw customers to their project management software, they had a corporate blog. And because they were selling project management software, of course their corporate blog was about all things related to project management. whether it's project risk management, budgeting, change management, release planning, end to end, so that as they updated and created new blog articles that would draw people to their blog, which should also increase the number of people who signed up for their project management software. Of course, there's traditional media, all the media outlets that we're familiar with, whether they're the popular ones like New York Post, New York Times, Wall Street Journal. There's also some very great local or regional publications that you may not have heard of, but could also have millions of readers per week or per month. And also there are websites that will match journalist requests with potential sources and experts. The one that I use is quoted.com. So let's go over some specifics here so you can understand more about what the workflow looks like. So if you were a journalist working on an article, you would have drafted that article and you know where there are particular spots where you want to quote experts within your article. So for example, a journalist knows the type of experts they want to quote. They'll create a request to include experts in that article. The hashtags are used to describe that article. So for example, if the article was on project management, you would have hashtags about pound project management, pound change management, other things that describe that particular article. And also, when the journalist is ready, they'll publish their request. And then emails are sent out to experts who have signed up to follow particular hashtags. So this is no different than other social media that you're familiar with, whether it's Twitter or LinkedIn or whatever. So if you signed up to receive journalist requests on machine learning, in your inbox, you might see something like expert request from, like, let's say Technolife, looking for an AI expert to comment on, and there could be several topics. Or if you've signed up to follow project management hashtags, you'll get requests from journalists looking for expert to comment on project change management or project risk management, for example. In addition to receiving emails that you've signed up for following particular hashtags, you can also go in and search these tools that match journalists with experts and determine, are there any experts looking for things that I might be a good match for? So for example, I like using Quoted. You can go to Opportunities and search. And one way is to search by hashtag. So because I'm a career coach, I'm going to look for all kinds of derivatives of career coaching, whether that's resume updates, layoffs, career planning, things like that, to see if there's any journalists who are looking for experts, if they're looking for experts to be quoted in their career articles. After that, you as an expert, once you find a request to be quoted, there is some additional work. One, you want to determine, is that publication read by your target customers? So let's say that you do, your business primarily functions in the United States. That publication may be primarily read by customers over in Europe, of which they're customers you don't serve. So that may not be a good match for you. Also, you want to read some of the journalists' work for the same publication. There are journalists who write for several different publications, and their writing style, their audience, and the tone may change across those different publications. The reason you want to do this is you want to make it as easy as possible for a journalist to copy and paste your quote into their publication and provide attribution. So your quote within that larger publication should just flow naturally throughout that whole publication. So that's why you want to read some of that journalist work for that particular publication. You also want to obviously create and send your pitch. So I briefly mention one of the journalist articles that you liked and why, showing an interest in their work may also return that they'll spend time reading your full pitch. You want to introduce yourself, a very brief bio with about 5 sentences, only applicable experience as it relates to that particular article that the journalist is looking for experts on. Overall, you want to keep your pitch short, 12 sentences or less. Be very, very concise. And you also want to write your quote, again, for that journalist audience. And again, that's why you want to read some of that journalist publication. There was one time where I received a request from a journalist was looking to create an article for college students who were about to graduate or who had just graduated, how they could go about planning their careers overall. Well, I was in a very introspective mood that day, and I started writing lots and lots of details. Well, I thought that before I provide my pitch to the journalist, I should read some of what that journalist has written for that particular publication. And what I found out is that journalist was writing at a very, very high level, that my details would not have been included or appreciated in that publication. So I threw out all my details and rewrote it at a much, much higher level that fit what that journalist was writing for, for that particular publication. It should only take about 45 minutes to do the above. If you're spending hours trying to create the ideal pitch, or if you're doing research on the topic, it's probably not the best request for your expertise. And also, it usually takes about 2 to 8 weeks to hear back from a journalist on whether or not your pitch was accepted or not. So let's go through an example. So let's say that we've received a request from Project Management News. They're working on a story about project management. This is a template that I encourage you to use. So it's hi, journalist name, and I read your article about, and again, this is at least one topic that you liked that journalist had written for the same publication, and you agree on a couple of points because, and only about one sentence max. So this first sentence here is showing interest in that journalist's work so that they show interest in reading your full pitch. List your name, list relevant companies, list relevant job titles you've had. And again, these are relevant and are specific to what the journalist is looking for, the expert information that they are looking for that particular publication. You can include current or former credentials if you have any that relate directly to that particular request. Your company, again, should be directly aligned with what that journalist is looking for, and mention the products or services that you offer to your target audience. This is your brief bio, the second paragraph. And then you humbly ask, I have information that might be helpful for you. Sometimes journalist requests will have 3 or 4 or 5 questions. It's best to take each one of them and answer them individually. All of your answers across all of the journalist questions should still total about 12 sentences total. It's not 12 sentences per journalist question. At 12 sentences total, your response is 12 sentences total across all of the journalist questions. You could say something like, so this journalist was asking about, what are recent trends in project management that project managers should be aware of? Well, artificial intelligence is an exciting area for project managers because, and list just a couple more sentences there. You go on to answer the other questions a journalist has. Say, I hope this information is helpful. Thank you. Sign your name. So let's look into what happens. So this is an example of a pitch that was accepted by a journalist and published in Cron. Cron is a local news source serving about 6 million people in the Houston area. And they serve Houston and the surrounding area. And they have a business publication that talks about project management software and other business topics. But you can see here that my name was included and my company name was included along with my quote within this much larger article. So this is an example of working through those steps to be quoted. There are 2 outcomes. The one, of course, is ideal, that you've created a pitch, you pitch to a journalist, you're accepted, great, and it's published. You want to take a little bit of time and thank the journalist. So these platforms that match journalists with experts provide a way for you to send a message directly to that journalist. So if the journalist accepted your quote and published it, just take a minute to thank the journalist, because you may see future requests from the same journalist in the future. Also, you want to post your quote to social media, your business website, tell your clients. If you have a monthly client newsletter, mention in there, oh, by the way, I was quoted in XYZ publication about some topic. Here's a link to that publication. So do what you can to drive additional traffic back to that publication you were quoted in. And also use it as leverage to get quoted in other publications. You can say that, as you're pitching to journalists in the future, say that I was pitched in different publications, or if you want to be a guest on a podcast, you can say that, and I was quoted in industry publications, etc. The other outcome is that you pitched and it was not accepted. Well, reflect on why other pitches may have been accepted. These platforms that match journalists with experts will sometimes provide that final publication that you weren't quoted in. Well, I usually spend about 15-20 minutes reading through that publication where my pitch was not accepted, trying to understand, well, who was accepted and why. And in some cases, the experts were chosen because they were keynote speakers at huge conferences, or maybe they had published several books that are in the top 100 or 1,000 list of some book list somewhere. Or maybe they've had their business running for 10, 20 years and they have several employees and they're, tens of millions in revenue. That's fine. I understand more about why those other experts were chosen. That's not going to stop me from pitching in the future, but at least I understand more about why those other experts were chosen. Now, your question now is probably, but how easy is it to go and to be quoted? Well, generally 1 out of 5 pitches are accepted and published. That's about a 20% acceptance rate. Me, I have a 35% acceptance rate, so it's a little bit better. So you can use these as a baseline to determine, well, out of 4 or 5 pitches, how many of my pitches were accepted? Am I within these parameters here? The other thing is that you don't want to do 5 or 6 pitches all on the same day, all at once. Stagger them over time so that you can see if you pitch once or twice, will they accept it or not? If not, then use that to improve and to grow and iterate before you pitch again. And also, your results will vary depending on the industry in which your business functions, your area of expertise, things like that. And again, reflect in your pitch journal before you pitch again. The other purpose for your pitch journal is that over time you will see that you put together some very valid pitches, but they weren't accepted. However, reflect in your pitch journal whether or not your pitches that were not accepted could be expanded into a blog article that you publish on your business website, or whether you expand it into a LinkedIn post that you post on LinkedIn. So just because your pitch wasn't chosen doesn't mean that you can't reuse that information for your corporate blog or to post it on LinkedIn or other outlets. And we are done. So if you have any questions, you can leave a comment below or contact me through my business website. I hope this was useful. Thank you.